And more now on the situation in Afghanistan, where President Hamid Karzai promises to root out corruption. This after he was declared winner in an election so tainted with fraud that his challenger dropped out. The UN is welcoming the decision that proclaimed Karzai president, and President Obama personally called him.
I emphasized that this has to be a point in time in which we begin to write a new chapter. He assured me that he understood the importance of this moment, but as I indicated to him, the proof is not going to be in words, it's going to be in deeds.
The White House says despite the canceled election, President Obama's decision on troop levels could still be weeks away. Joining us this morning with more on the situation in Afghanistan is Malou, innocent foreign policy analyst at the Cato Institute. Good morning. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Thank you.
We enjoyed so much your analysis on what was going on in Afghanistan. We wanted to have you back to talk about this latest development now. Hamid Karzai now president again for another 5 years. What are the implications? I think we all scratched our heads saying, well, where's the runoff election? What does this mean?
Right. I think he won this election by default, essentially. He was the de facto winner simply because Abdullah, the main challenger, has opted out of this race. Simply because the pervasive amounts of corruption and electoral fraud that riddled the first round of elections, it wasn't really clear that the second round of elections wouldn't also be riddled with the large amounts of widespread fraud and allegations of voter fraud and tampering. I think the problem now for the Obama administration is how to build the legitimacy and credibility of Hamid Karzai. We saw a distinct break in the relationship from President Bush to President Obama. President Bush had weekly video conferences with Hamid Karzai. It's very much a personal relationship. What we saw with the Obama administration is more of an arms-length relationship for understandable reasons. Hamid Karzai was largely deemed the mayor of Kabul, not the president of Afghanistan, especially when you look at the many rural areas of the country. The government is simply absent. And so I think going forward, the Obama administration must try and increase the credibility. But I think also the bigger question we must ask is whether or not we must be spending more American lives and more of our ever-diminishing financial resources to prop up what many Afghans believe is an illegitimate government.
Right. And how do you build the foundation when we have seen the news play out? There was corruption. There was to be a runoff. Now the same regime is still in power. Exactly. How do you build that foundation on that and go forward to fight the Taliban and Al-Qaeda there?
Well, I think, again, the sort of bigger question we must ask is ridding corruption from the Afghan government critical for America's national security? And it's clearly not. This sort of state-building mission that we've been tasked with is a sense of mission creep. We must remember that in 2001, we went in with the objective of going after Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden leadership, but they're across the border in Pakistan. They're not in Afghanistan. And it's not clear 8 years down the road that protecting the villages of Afghanistan from an indigenous insurgency is critical to America's national security. It's clearly not.
How deep, and I don't even know how to ask this question, but how deep could the corruption charges go as far as Hamid Karzai? This is somebody that we backed being in power. We all saw that when President Bush was in office. What are we to make of this?
That's an excellent question. In fact, I think that this offers sort of a superficial fix from the top level. What we really need to understand is that the pervasive levels of corruption go to the subnational level as well, whether you're talking about judicial decisions, driver's licenses, almost everything is bought and sold. And this has further alienated Afghans on the most basic levels, the local and district levels. They feel not only that the central government is absent in many of these isolated pockets of the country where 3/4 of Afghans live, but also that the government itself is exploitative, is predatory, and is looking to sort of extract as many resources as it can to the detriment of the citizens.
As far as the Afghan citizen goes, what are they to make of this? The United States is sort of like a backhanded congratulations from the president. Congratulations and don't be corrupt. You know what I mean? It's sort of an admonishment and a congratulations. So what is on the Afghan street? What are they to think about the United States?
Well, unfortunately, the United States and President Hamid Karzai, President Karzai himself is widely considered an American puppet, a U.S. stooge, and it's unfortunate, but this is sort of what's been happening over the past several years. And And I think also last week the New York Times broke the story that Hamid Karzai's brother, Ahmed Wali Karzai, who's a notorious drug baron, is actually being paid by the CIA. So you have the story right before the second round elections of the brother of the incumbent president being paid off by the CIA. This does not help our cause. And granted, you can argue that the CIA payoffs to his brother is critical for getting intelligence on the whereabouts of insurgents. But at the same time, you don't want to propose to create a legitimate, credible, centralized government. And really, we need to ask ourselves, even the presumption of creating a centralized state where one has rarely existed in Afghan history, is that achievable? And is that achievable within costs acceptable to the American public? Not only was October the deadliest month for U.S. forces, but aside from human costs, we've already spent $223 billion in the country. And moving forward next year, it's going to be $65 billion. And for every 1,000 troops, it costs approximately $1 billion on top of these staggering financial costs and the recession.
Right.
And so Americans are asking themselves and sort of, as you mentioned, scratching their heads, to what end are we doing this? And it is clear that remaining in Afghanistan is not a precondition to keeping America safe. Al-Qaeda is a global network. It has cells in Pakistan and Somalia and Yemen and Philippines. It's not clear that building a credible, legitimate Afghan government where one has never existed is critical to our interests.
Keeping us safe. All right, Malou Innocent, the Cato Institute, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
See you next week?
Absolutely.
Okay, see you then. Steve, over to you.